one whole year. So an entire state, very, very, very populous state, we use that whole amount of electricity on data centers. 4% of US electricity demand today is taken by data centers. It's supposed to be projected 6 to 12% of our electricity will be going to data centers by 2028. A single AI data center, electricity of tens of thousands of homes. So, tens of thousands of homes. There's 32,000 people in Jackson County. So, it's going to use over our county's usage of electricity just to do their function. So what does that look like for electric bill? So because I was in Cincinnati, they use PJM, which is their AEP. So because I did have a short turnaround time, I will try to get AEP's numbers and equate it to what we use here, but they're both utilities. I'm hoping they're comparable. I would, but I did want to use their information. So their capacity increase went from $28.92 to $329.17 per megawatt day. So I'm not good at math, but that is a huge jump. Since 10 times. $70 a month is the projected added cost for average Ohio family to their electric bill by 2028. So, did we just take an AEP hike? $7? And then they're going to do another one that's going to be like $30. So it's just going to keep on climbing. 63% of that spike is completely driven by data centers. So we're responsible for 37%, but the data centers are 63% responsible. $140 million is what we lost as a state in sales tax in 2025 because they have a sweet deal with the State House that they don't pay any sales tax. So, $140 million. How many of you are educators? Or were educators? Have kids in school? We're in a funding crisis. Our schools can use that $140 million that we just left unaccounted for. The good news is our State House voted to repeal that law. Democrats and Republicans in the State House said that's a bad deal for Ohio, we're going to repeal it. But Governor DeWine vetoed it. So they did try, DeWine vetoed it. Water. Why do they use so much? So we've got evaporative cooling is the culprit, and with the evaporation, it does not come back. We lose it. So 5 million gallons a day. I can't even fathom that. 5 million milk jugs. Think of 5 million milk jugs in one day is what a large data center will use to run their facility. It's equal to the entire usage of Dublin, Ohio. 17 billion gallons of water was consumed by U.S. data centers in 2023. So now think of 17 billion water jugs, or milk jugs. So the projected demand for hyperscale data centers by 2028 is that they will use 16 to 33 billion gallons of water a year. Fresh water, because salt is corrosive and they can't use ocean water. So this is our fresh water. As far as I know, they haven't figured out a way to take salt out of salt water, or else we would be drinking it.
They actually do. They have desalination plants that turn salt water into drinkable water. That's what our armies use overseas.
Well, then we're safe. So, servers run 24/7. Thousands of chips generate intense heat around the clock. This creates evaporative cooling. Water evaporates to cool the method, water is lost in that process. Most evaporated water does not return to rivers or groundwater. Ohio's projection is 70 million gallons a day needed. 70 million gallons a day. I guess I hit 2024. That's supposed to be 2028. Just for Central Ohio. So 70 million gallons a day of water usage is just for Central Ohio. The hidden water problem, power plants and wastewater. Energy decisions are water decisions, and discharge matters too. The water energy nexus. 70% of all Great Lakes water used in 2023 was tied to power generation. We don't have a water source like that here. A data center that cuts on-site cooling water may simply shift that demand of power to the plant supplying its energy. Energy decisions equal water decisions. Communities are rarely shown both sides. We've got wastewater and water quality issues. Heated water is discharged into the ground. So it's boiling water when they dump it back into the rivers and streams and groundwater. So that will contribute to bigger algae blooms. It will disrupt the species and microdome that is the biodome that is in the ground. The cooling towers blowdown contain salts, biocides, and corrosive inhibitors. In small rivers, the dilute is limited. Cumulative impacts can trigger harmful algae blooms. The OEC is the Ohio Environmental Council. Their lawsuits are filed comments opposing Ohio EPA's rubber stamped general permit for data center wastewater in 2026. The Ohio Environmental Council's position is a general permit is not appropriate for a high impact emerging industry whose discharge effects will be significant. So we did mention it last week, but they are trying to lower the water standard through the Ohio AEP for their wastewater, because they can't clean it fast enough to get it to the standard that we hold other industries to. So instead of making them do better, we're gonna cut them a break. So many breaks. Air health impacts. Ohio offers little protection. The CEDS report, and that is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That report says a single data center can pose negative health risk for residents living at 0.6 miles away. The risks increase if you're near multiple centers. The pollutants include nitrogen dioxide and tiny inhalable particles that harm the lungs. The National Institute of Health says those particles cause 100,000 to 200,000 premature deaths nationally each year. That's nationally, that's not in Ohio. Still a very, very, very high number. We know diesel is not clean energy. The diesel backup generators run during testing and outages. They're among the strongest pollutants, and they can run up to 50 hours. And we're not talking like one or two diesel generators. We're talking about like dozens. There were 36 hooked up to one plant, and I can't remember where. But when the grid gets too stressed, the company calls the data center and says, hey, we're too stressed, fire up your 36 diesel generators, and they will run that up to 50 hours until the company says, okay, we're good, you can flip back on the grid.
Grant?
Can I also
Yeah,
add to that?
please, yes, please.
Well, we also have a lot of electrical grid outages because of our weather here, and then also they have to test those periodically. There are testing periods in which they have to fire them all up to make sure that they still work.
And that makes
So
sense.
they're still gonna have to use them regardless of if the grid
Even if
demands it or not.
Gotcha. Okay, good point. Groundwater stress and community impact, this scared me to death. Columbus is already feeling the strain. 98% of Columbus experiencing sinking. Sinking. The city is sinking. Yeah, about 2 millimeters a year, in part to groundwater extraction. So you have water in the ground, it keeps structured, you suck it all out, and we have a sinkhole. This is not, I have heard in my readings, some other places that have had ground sinking issues. But this one I wanted to know because it had sources, I know I can believe it. Yes, sir.
How much is a millimeter?
A millimeter is what, 1,000th of a meter. So, I mean, we're talking like this,
About an eighth of an inch.
an eighth of an inch. There we go. Thank you very much.
But over time, it's gonna do a lot of damage to your
Right.
foundations and everything.
Foundations,
Um,
barns.
An eighth of an inch is considerable when you're talking about foundations, structures, infrastructure.
Can I state something?
Please, yes.
So the reason it starts sinking is because as you pull the water out of the aquifer,
Mhm.
the aquifer is actually made of stone that is very similar to volcanic rock.
Okay.
As you pull the water out, that stone crushes.
Mhm.
So even if a miracle happened and 500 years from now we remove all those data centers, those aquifers will never fill back up to the way that they were because they have collapsed. Just an FYI.
Thank you very
Once
much.
it's done, it never comes back.
Well, I said last week, we've got one shot of this.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important that we try to do it responsibly if it is going to be here. Farmers and water competition. So this one hits close to home. Farmers in Central Ohio have already raised concerns about competing for water as data centers, industrial demand grows alongside agriculture. Groundwater and private wells do not mix. Data centers, water use combined with drought and other large users could cause water shortages, groundwater conflicts, and contaminate the aquifers. So, I went through that really super fast, and I apologize, but as you read it and talk about it, if you have questions or comments, let me know. I think there was some really good, verified, and terrifying information in this little handout. Something else I want to mention that was talked about in the symposium was that Virginia is way ahead of us, and I want to quote this right, with how many data centers they have and all the issues they're dealing with. And they average out to 18.8 jobs per data center. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was very interesting.
Would you repeat that one more time?
Yes, Virginia, and I'll give you, as soon as I find the slide, I will give you the, how many data centers they have to how many people are employed in those data centers, but it averages out to 18.8 jobs per data center. So, when they tell us 50 to 100 jobs,
Wise.
well, I think we need to ask them, like, what are you doing different than the whole state of Virginia? If you can employ 50 a year, but the whole entire state only averages 18.8. Because I don't believe 50, I definitely don't believe 100.
Do you think they're counting like the construction, the building of it, and then?
I think they're lying to you. No,
Can I also add to that?
please, while I find my slide.
In regards to the construction as well, obviously, they're not gonna contract someone local to build it.
That's-
They're probably
yes,
gonna get
exactly.
someone from Columbus or a larger company to do it, that's out of state, maybe.
Most of the workers are gonna be migrant workers, number one, and number two, I think with, the jobs, most of them are gonna be low paying jobs, like outdoor maintenance probably,
Yeah.
security. If there's any remote jobs, they're not gonna be people from here, they're gonna be from California, and, wherever.
So what you see with these, right, is that if you think of the time it takes to build it, it's roughly 5 to 7 years depending on the scale of the data center, right? But that's just the initial construction. Now, if you think about laptops, we buy a laptop, in 5 to 7 years, that laptop is obsolete, right? So by the time they finish construction, it's already obsolete. So that 18 jobs, about 5 of them are high-level engineering jobs, where they just swap out these servers over and over and over again. Because by the time they finish it, it's already obsolete, and it just never stops. They pull more water every single time they swallow. They pull more precious metals to create RAM, graphic cards, all that to use this. And then over time, they're just using more and more and more resources.
Something else about the way they're built, is they are very, very aware that one change in technology could make all of this move and go in a completely different direction. So the reason that this construction takes 6, 8, 10 years is because they build one building at a time, get it up and running, and then go to their next building. Because if a change happens overnight, I'd rather be sitting with one halfway done building than 50 halfway done buildings. And they know that. They know that we are one discovery away from this thing not needing to exist. And they are so aware of that they protect themselves by building slowly, so that if that change happens, they can mitigate their loss. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, one thing I was Googling on the way over here. It says from 1 to 3 miles from the data center, the decimal, which 85 is top of the line that you can have without losing your hearing. It says it can reach 85 to 110 decibels.
That's, wow. Some of the other things that they talk about is this could be a bubble. They're all holding each other, you know, half a dozen to dozen huge IT firms. They're all holding their own investments up. So it's a lot of money, but it's only based on a very small portion. So if this doesn't happen, the bubble, or isn't, help me here.
It's
The
kind
bubble
of like
bursting.
it's kind of like a circle in which these large companies are trading money. The companies that manufacture the computing equipment that are used by the data centers are being paid by the data centers, but then they're also paying the data centers to develop software for them. So they're passing money between each other, but at some point it's going to be a realization for investors that all this money is just going into a circle, and they're inflating their company value while producing little to no actual results, and the bubble could very much crash. It's like real estate. Sometimes real estate makes all the housing value go up, and then the bubble could burst, and then everything could collapse. And that's sort of where it is right now. People are looking at the AI industry and seeing that there are some positive developments, and then there's a lot of negative developments, and at some point there's very much a predicted burst of this new bubble and this new technology.
I also wanted to pass these around the room. Last week we had some questions about, you know, what is a data center? I just want everyone to see and visualize, and thank you, I'm sorry, what is it? Mr. Meacham brought these for us so that we can look and see what it's going to look like and what's inside. So I will pass those on, please take a look. Yes, sir?
I have a question. We're talking about different types of data centers.
Mm-hmm.
Are we mixing the statistics from these data centers when we're talking about these, as far as quoting numbers and
Everything.
percentages? Don't we have to talk about the specific area that we're having one built in, have to know exactly what kind it is and what the statistics go with it?
Well, that's a great question, and you would think that that is a logical way to think, is that, hey, shouldn't we know about our area and what is going in here and who it is and what they're doing and what the impact is gonna be? Because Ohio has been made so friendly to these people, we have no required studies, no required feedback.
And I realize that, but
Mhm.
when we're talking about these, we're talking so much in general that it's hard to really tell what kind of fish we got out there.
So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, generally, regardless of what type of data center it is, I mean, they all consume large amounts of electricity, they all use a lot of water. I mean, this is just a general thing because they all do it.
Right.
It doesn't depend on the type. Now, regardless of that, we don't know exactly how big it's going to be because the company that's trying to buy the land is acting as a subsidiary. So it's a registered, Delaware registered limited liability company that has no ties to any other company. And what they plan on doing is buying the land first and then transferring it to the company that actually wants to build it. And that's to keep everything private, under wraps, so people like us can't say, hey, you plan on doing this, we oppose that, and have more specific statistics to push back and why we would disapprove of it.
Is that what we call a shell company?
Yeah, pretty much,
Okay,
yeah.
so they're using a shell company to hide behind so that in the supposed name of competitive industry, I also think that is a convenient lie, however. Yeah, so in general, whether it's cryptocurrency or AI, we're gonna get the end result. The heat, the groundwater.
We just don't know how much.
We just don't know how much. You know, I would say on 500 acres, that would be considerable. If that's where they stop. Yes, ma'am?
I believe the one in Franklin Furnace, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they've already announced how big it's gonna be. I believe it's gonna be a million square feet.
1 million square feet.
I think, the one on the river, yeah, in, next to Woodward,
Okay.
down in Franklin Furnace.
I mean, like, the thing with the shell company, if I offer any one of you $100,000 to run, I don't know, down to the bottom of Kentucky and back, but you gotta pick something up for me, every last one of you is gonna know there's something highly illegal with that kind of money. Flat out, I mean, how much does an acre of ground actually worth?
Yeah. So that's some facts, that I wish I would have had last week, because I think those kind of hit home. Those are a lot of big numbers, and honestly, for me, they're kind of hard to imagine millions of gallons of water. So, you know, if you're like me, that's beyond what I can really grasp, so, yes, sir.
I think what everybody in the room needs to ask herself is, do we want another atomic plant coming in that's got unknown dangers that's not seen until 40 or 50 years down the road for our children and grandchildren to live with?
I mean, who's gonna feed them? You can't
Well,
feed-
that's
you
the
can't
other
feed
thing,
servers.
but I mean, they didn't say there was any trouble with eggplant poisoning anybody giving them cancer when it moved in here in the 50s either. There's too much of it unknown.
Yeah.
Where are they gonna get all the water from is what I'm wondering. Where is that coming from? The lakes that are in the area or?
They're gonna stick a pipe way down into your ground and suck out all the groundwater.
Okay, so that would affect wells, streams,
The aquifer.
everything.
It'll affect how you water your livestock,
Yes,
how you
yes.
water, if your crops have any water,
Mhm.
if your well has any water.
Mhm.
As far as these data centers go, there are two types of coolants. One of them uses groundwater. One of them uses air conditioning units. So,
It's called an enclosed system.
A closed loop system, if I'm correct.
Which is deceiving.
Which is
because
deceiving.
that makes you think, oh, well, they just use the same water over and over and over. They don't.
Anyway, it's not
This is a
water.
lot of.
they're not using water.
It's not water at all.
Oh,
It's not water at
closed
all.
loop systems can be water. You
Yes,
guys
it
are
is.
talking about a glycol or,
This would be an air conditioner, just like this air conditioner in your house. So, and I would also say too, that I've done a lot of research, and I'm not saying a lot because my research ain't done, and I don't wanna like feed somebody in the wrong direction on it. But I've been invited to come up to the one that's going in the side of Downs, and I'm gonna try to do that maybe even next week.
please,
I
yes.
want to
We'd
look
be
at it,
interested.
and an engineer actually called me from there and said he would love for me to go up and check the system out. The thing is like you guys just said, because of this company, we do not know what they're planning to put on here, put in here. I don't know if they think the water is here to develop this and use that style system. He thinks that they would use the system that they're using inside of town, which has nothing.
Who's
to do-
they?
It's the company
Who's the company?
that I do not even know, I just know the guy.
So does he know?
He don't know who's doing it here, that's the point, that's what I'm trying to say is, because nobody knows who's doing it here.
Right.
We can't figure that out.
So
that's what
even
I'm
if you
trying
go
to-
see it, we have no idea
But we
if
will
that's
know
here.
here's the thing, guys, is that I'm trying to do. I don't wanna see this either, but what I do wanna tell you guys is, we have no zoning effect at all. If these property owners decide to sell, they're gonna sell. Everybody's asked me about putting a moratorium on, right? Let me explain to you what that is. That means that I'm going on record that we're gonna take the township and we're gonna zone it. I don't know for sure we're gonna do that yet. So we have to look at it from every angle. Can things be grandfathered in? Are we gonna lose the businesses in our community now?
Things can be grandfathered in, and we want all
And
the
I
same
understand you
businesses in our
saying that, but I
location.
also do, and talking to attorneys to make sure what can be, because I don't
Sure.
want to harm anybody in our township now. I wanna make sure that we're doing the right thing, all the way around. And I'm not saying what system they're using, because I don't even know who the company is, so we don't know. But at the same time, what I am saying is we can't just plan that we're stopping this today. We have to plan for the future, that if we can't stop it, then we have to live with it, so let's do the best we can with it and try to protect ourselves in every aspect. And if that means that we have to put some kind of pilot in place, what we gotta do, if it does happen, guys, we gotta do something to protect the township.
So I'm keeping, and I agree, and I think we should go and learn from this plan. What we can't do is believe anything they say. Because if they're not gonna name the company, and they don't know who's building down here, and they're not involved,
And they're not putting in.
and they're not, I mean, so I do want you to go learn. But just remember, they lied to us to get what they want. You know, we've got to understand that. So, yes, sir,
So how many people so I'm super new to Jackson County.
welcome.
And I moved down here in 2023, I don't want to give a whole big spiel, but.
Sure.
I love it down here. I don't want to scare you, I'm from Columbus. I have family roots
We'll
down
still
here.
bring you in, it's
Right.
okay.
I have family roots down here, and, you know, it was really totally accident that I ended up down here. But I watched Columbus, where I'm from, the very far south side of Columbus, just become warehouse central. All the beautiful farmland gone, okay? I know that data center, where it's at. I've watched it tear down a beautiful farmhouse, okay? I drive by it every morning. I've got video of it. It's crappy. If you want to see it, I'll show you on the phone. What I want to know, though, what bugs me, because I've followed a lot of this data center stuff. I'm no expert. I'm not smart. But these people sign NDAs. How many people within, you know, the township or the county are involved in this NDA, and why is it not a freaking crime that they signed especially if they're a voted in, you know, representative of Jackson County or whoever? What the heck?
I will say that right now, the only ones we know have signed NDAs are the Economic Development Partnership. The county commissioners and our trustees have been very open to dialogue. I feel they've been very transparent. Last week, I was very pleased to see two of our commissioners here, willing to step in, willing to say, hey, this is what we can do. So, Columbus, they sold you out. Here,
absolutely.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
that we are a little bit earlier than, you know, deeds aren't in hand yet, the ground isn't broken yet. That means we have time. And Terry, I'm with you. If it comes, we're gonna start, if we can't stop it, we're gonna start changing our dialogue from what can we do to prevent it to what can we do to get every single thing out of it. I want fire trucks. You know, they got how many 500 acres of lithium batteries over there? It's taken huge resources from other areas and fire, because those things catch fire and you can only fight them in a certain way. I think honestly, if they want to come here and they give us a pilot, just keep at them. Just keep at them. We want new school buses. We want fire trucks. We want defibrillators everywhere. We want, yes, sir.
We want new PS5s.
Let's do it. We have five for the whole township. Like,
New switches.
yes, we can't go outside for years. Every PlayStation 5. I like it. How about
I just want to clarify, for your question in regards to whether these people are elected or not, the County Economic Development Board, they're a completely private organization. That being said, I believe at our last meeting, the county commissioners had said that they actually provide money to this organization.
That is correct.
That is
So,
correct.
I think it might be worth exploring whether or not
They
that,
receive local and state funds.
Yes.
As well as some federal.
it would be worth maybe exploring to see whether or not we could pull that funding, if at all possible.
I'm working on I'm working on the records request right now for the overall budget, where everything goes, so we can connect some dots and follow the money and see if we can get people on our side.
Or possibly leverage that and say that since you receive taxpayer funds, you have to, be transparent with the general public. That might be something we could explore as well.
Aaron, I see where one area, there's zoning, or there, whoever it is, their township people that were all voted in, that went for the whole data center thing, that completely against what the township wanted, they're kicking them out.
Aaron, go ahead.
I saw that too.
Well, as being the fire chief here for the last 38 years, I can tell you I don't want any part of it. It's gonna put my people in jeopardy having to respond there, with nobody there to guide you, 18, 20 people.
Volunteers.
Limit volunteers, limited access. We could go out and walk 3/4 of a mile to rescue somebody.
Well, what is the one plus of having one? I haven't heard anything good
That's a good
about even having one of these things around here.
You can ask a question back.
If you wanna redecorate your house, they can tell
I mean,
you.
what's the,
No,
what's,
there, so,
what is a plus? I haven't heard a plus at all.
the plus locally, like, for us inside of the township, I haven't found one.
Right, the whole
Yeah.
No,
Jackson County.
that's not true, that's not
Okay.
true. A handful of families can make generational wealth, so there's the plus.
I
A few
get
of us
that.
are gonna make a lot of money, and the rest of us
We're gonna be sick.
are gonna be
Not have
dealing.
any water.
How many of those families have said, yeah, they're willing to sell?
No one to our face.
AEP is preparing for this. I'm in Beaver. We're on the line with all the big towers. They have offered us, they were willing to give us 10% of their offer the day they offered it to us.
They
So
saw
I told them
my
no.
parents today,
And
they're the same
I
way.
see you Amish guys here, you guys need to talk to them, because I know several Amish guys that signed on the dotted line that day and collected $10,000.
And I'm sure that
That's
might
not worth
be,
it.
it might be, if you listen to them, it's gonna be the best thing in the world.
Eminent domain will come into effect at some point.
No, it will not.
You don't think it will?
For AEP it will.
So this is, you guys are getting into two
For
different
the
things.
power.
That's too
There's a
different.
natural
No.
gas power plant coming in that they're gonna build. Those lines are for that. And that's utility easement, and they can eminent domain that. For the data center, that is not a public utility, they cannot eminent
So
domain
they're
that.
not trying to connect the two. They're not
it's
trying to
not-
connect
It's
them
just
on the
weird
two.
timing.
It's weird timing, there's so much
Okay,
going on,
thank
but this, that will happen regardless. I mean, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but
Yeah.
if they're building a new power plant, they got power going
Well,
everywhere.
from what I understood, Ohio Means Jobs is behind the AEP stuff, and if Ohio Means Jobs is
Ohio
behind it-
Means Jobs keeps coming up
I
all
know,
over the
right?
place
So if
lately.
they're behind it, I'm telling you, the government, Ohio government is gonna back it, and some, I don't know.
So your statement about the two happening at the same time makes it seem like they're not together. So I want you to think in reverse. If those towers don't get built here, will the data center show up?
That's what I'm trying to ask. So I talked to the
Okay.
survey company, they have 40 people working on this survey. The lady that I've talked to has been very, I don't know, not concerned, but she feels for us. She says they don't know because they're being so vague. AEP is being very, very vague. And they're kind of the in-between survey company. They said they've plotted 2 or 3 different lines, because they have to present 2 or 3 different lines. And, I know a lot of friends and family members that have gotten offers, and I'm talking offers of $90,000 to $300,000 to lease land for these. She said from what she can tell, the plots that they're going on, and we're looking at survey maps, they're going from the A plant 2 to 3 different ways. They converge at 335 on Beaver, they converge, because I live right at 335, they converge there and they come all the way to Glade. So take that how you want, I don't know.
I called the PUCO to have a talk with them about it.
the ones that have signed for AEP, like you mentioned,
Right.
is where they haven't been built yet?
Oh, no, so basically the 3 lines, they were giving the people the opportunity that day to collect, I'm just gonna use this number as example, $10,000. So for my family, they offered us $90,000. That was the full first offer, and they made it very clear that was the first offer. They said, if you sign today, we will give you $9,000, and we said no. So there are some other people that said yes, and they collected that 10%, whether the line comes there or not. It could be the Owl Creek area way to 335, and it could be the line, you see the towers, you can follow the towers all the way to Beaver. It would be run parallel with that, it's a 200-foot wide segment.
But there's no way for them to retract.
No, they are done, they signed on the dotted line, and guys, I'm telling you, the Amish guys are signing on the dotted line, and they need to understand this.
Okay, so the PUCO, who you would think would regulate utilities, so I pose the question to them. AEP is a privately held company that had a $14 billion profit last year. All right, that's why your electric rates should be picked on with it. Sidebar of that is PUCO does not get involved until there's complaints. And so I continue to ask questions trying to apply some reverse thought on it. And they basically told me to call and hire an attorney and hung up. So they gave me a line for AEP's liaison with PUCO. And so my response is, what kind of unbiased answer will you get that way? So I called the judge and I called the lawyer. And if you come next week, you're gonna hear from Farm Bureau. I've already got the notes from the meeting you're gonna have next year where they presented it. All 3 responses to that question about can AEP enforce eminent domain, the answer is no, emphatically no. And that's what's happening is this company, Weller, who is out here soliciting those contracts, is basically trying to scare people into saying that they're going to enforce eminent domain, when in fact they cannot. They're just trying to get them to sign on the first offer. And so folks that are getting those offers need to be aware of that. And my contention is that the people that hold these towers or places where they're wanting to put towers, if you say no, we won't have a data center. At least not right here. So I do believe, contrary to what may have been said in the past, these two are going to eventually be linked. Right? We have to stop the towers.
I'm wondering, what I've been hearing is, the line right back here, they're thinking the new one is going to be on the north side. And just a little further out that way, I've been hearing it's going to be on the south side. So I just kind of asked the question, is it going to cross over, or are you coming to something?
Unfortunately, we don't know. They give us vague plans, vague contracts, no scope of work, no construction plans, no timing, nothing. They bring you a pretty green folder with a contract that says 00000, want to sign today? And then we say, no. I think the big thing is education, and an informed community is a powerful community. Right? We have our Farm Bureau meeting next week with Dale Arnold, who is the Director of Utility Governance for the Farm Bureau. Knowledge is power. The more we know, the more dangerous we become. And I think that's very important to know and understand. What is a data center? How many different types of data centers? Why is all of this converging at 335? Why are they offering south lines, north lines? Who knows? There's another company in Beaver, ILC, that's coming out that's different from the ORC people. So again, they come in, they're really cute, probably sassy, and just love to love up on you. But they're doing their job. They are selling you something that we, don't know what the repercussions are or the collateral damage will be. We don't know what it's feeding. We don't know anything, but they come with their checkbooks and they're like, I can write you a check right now for 10%. And you know what? If we don't do it, Just keep the money. How much profit for AEP last year, Casey?
Oh.
14 billion, 14 billion.
$14 billion.
Oh my God.
And they are coming out here with their checkbooks to all of us saying, we can take care of you today. Well, the detriment and the collateral damage for that signing will be unknown until we understand what is happening. An informed community is a dangerous community, okay? And that is a powerful thing to be. A very powerful thing. My name is Grace Davis Moore. I graduated from Jackson High School in 1999. In 2004, I left Ohio because I didn't think anything was here for me. And boy, what a fool I was. After 25 years, I looked at my husband, who is from Beaver. We met late in life. After 25 years, I brought my family home to raise it in this community.
Yep.
That's why I came home. And you know what? I was the fancy pants. For 25 years, I was the fancy pants. I left my job in retail, but I worked in tech within the retail world. And there's a reason why I left. Because it's scary out there. You don't know what these things are capable of. We don't know, and there is a reason for that. There is a reason why we are in the dark. An informed community is a powerful community. And the more we get all of these chairs filled every single week about the ILC, the ORC, the AEP, the data center, whatever, the more powerful we become together and the more pressure we can put on the people that need it. Because their job as an elected official is to protect us. It's not about economic growth. It's about doing what's right for the people that elected them. Our land is already economically developed. And it's good enough for me. Is it not good enough for you? Because it doesn't seem good enough for any of them. It's good enough for me. And I hope that we, thank you to Casey, thank you to all of you for being here. Because you know what? We've only been at this for 3 weeks. We're pretty daggone consistent. Our next meeting is going to be, we got 2 meetings next week. We have our Farm Bureau meeting and our community meeting next week. Tell your friends. An informed community is a powerful community. They don't want us to be informed. And when I say they, I mean the people with the checks. They don't want us to know. I know. I was one of them. Trust me. I am not that person anymore. I left my job in October. I said, not anymore. This is not for me. Now I have been able to reconnect with my community because I'm not working 90 hours a week. I'm still working, but not 90 hours a week anymore. I'm connecting with my community, and our community is becoming informed, Casey. They are becoming powerful. And we will only continue to do this if you tell your friends, you tell your family, and you tell everyone, come up to the township house. Let's do this together. Let's figure out what our options are. And let's move forward together. 30 days, we can take 5 big steps and be 5 steps closer to our end goal than what we were last week. Okay? So I don't know why I went off on this spiel, but I felt moved to do that. I'm 45 years old.
Go
And
get 'em, Grace.
sometimes I just gotta tell what's on my mind. So, I am very grateful to have so many people reaching out to me, sharing out content. Every single bit helps because we are gaining power together. Power of influence to our elected officials. Power of community, because we're doing this together. This is not one person being like, oh, I'm gonna go to this is Scioto Township. This is Scioto Town. This is why I came home. I don't get to wave at people in Dallas, being like, hey. You know, they wave different ways in Dallas, and it's very vulgar. Okay? So, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have this community. Stick with us, guys. It's gonna be a little bit, but we're just getting the wheels started.
All right, I'm gonna take a couple comments. We are at our hour. And oh my goodness, that was the fastest hour of my life. So I'm gonna keep it with a couple. I've got 3 or 4 hands up that I'm gonna let you guys talk. We didn't get to zoning. And zoning is something that this is the ORC zoning, and I have read half of it because I got to what I needed to, and I was like, whoo, I need to take a brain break. But I definitely want to have this zoning conversation. I am the messenger. So I can help answer questions, I can explain the process. But I also don't want to, take up all of your evening. So.
Hey, Casey, maybe we could record a video that we could put on our Facebook page or something like that.
After a few comments, I will continue with some zoning. If people want to stay, if you want to hear about it, I will not take personal offense. If you have things to do and you want to leave, we will review zoning next week as well. So I just, time is not on our side with zoning. So I do, those of you that are interested in hearing some things about it, I do want that, I want to take the time to say that to anyone that's willing to stay and learn. So I'm going to go around the room as I have seen hands. This one over here first.
I just had a question. We've talked about the data center and what you gathered. What about, I realize what happens with the toxic plant and the health issues and all that, but do we have anything on data centers in other states or our state where they've gathered information on the health hazards? Have they been around that long? Besides just the ground?
Other than the pollutions that we have talked about, I haven't gotten a hold of any studies that were, soil sample studies or groundwater studies specifically. I do feel like that's probably the last thing they want done. But I do want to give a little bit of hope as well. Let's see, 2 years ago, there was one bill in the State House regarding AI, and it was in favor of AI. Right now, 2 years later, we currently have 6 controlling AI bills sitting in process at the State House. So, we are being heard. People across the state are being heard. There's one of the bills is to form a commission to study what data centers do to the community. A little bit of horse behind the cart, but I'll take it.
But Oklahoma, Texas, Virginia has already done those studies.
He's not gonna care, but we need to make sure whoever we vote in as the next governor is on our side. And not like him and want to veto it 130.
I'm the biggest voting advocate there is. I'll tell you a quick story. I was complaining to my grandfather about driving home from Cincinnati to vote for a president one time because I forgot to absentee ballot, and I was in college. Sitting there, and like a 19-year-old, I sounded a little bratty that I was so inconvenienced to have to drive all the way from Cincinnati to vote. And he sat there and his